I'm Daniel Fisher, Director of Product Optimization here at Sweetwater Sound. Today I'm excited to show you the AKAI Professional MPX16. It's basically a sample player that can store as many samples as an SD card can hold. It can go up to 32 gigabytes, and you can load up to 48 megabytes at a time. And so initially, because it has the pads, you might think, well, I'd use this for drums, but it really is useful for so many other things. And so I set up a couple things just to show you some ideas of what you might do. For example, what I set up here are some different sound cues and some sound effects that you might use if you were doing a play or some presentation, some radio program, anything like that. And the key thing to remember is that even though this is like a light little plastic box, it plays back .wav files perfectly. I mean, it's basically CD quality. You can do mono or stereo .wav files, 16-bit. You can go as low as 11 kilohertz sampling rate all the way up to 48 kilohertz sampling rate. So some of the things you have control over, pad volume, your panning of each pad. You can add reverb to each pad. You can tune it up or down an octave. You can use an envelope to move the tuning. You can do sample start, sample end, so you can create multiple versions of the same sample. You've also got an amp attack and decay, which means you can fade in and fade out of each sound the way you want. You got a filter attack and decay, so it can get brighter or darker over time. Filter cutoff, filter resonance, envelope amount for the filter. You can also choose your trigger mode between one shot, loop, or hold. You've got choke groups, which means certain pads will turn off other pads, like if you have open closed hi-hats. Each pad can be mono or poly, which means if you hit the pad multiple times, either they ring out over themselves or it cuts itself off. And you can choose whether or not to engage velocity for each pad. You've also got the ability to stop all. You can record with a built-in mic if you wanted to. You can also record directly in. It has a record in left and right. It's true stereo. It also has headphone outs. It can run off of its included power supply, and it can also run off USB, which means you can run it off your computer, or you could, if you had like a phone charging block, you could run it off that, and now all of a sudden you're free from AC. The SD card, you can go up to 32 gigabytes, which is quite a bit of time. And other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that it requires is that the samples be in a certain format, and .wav is a pretty easy format to get to. And if you're not sure how to make .wav files, you could take any type of audio file and drag it into their conversion software, and it will output that very quickly into another folder, which then will work in this perfectly. So after you've loaded the MPX file conversion utility on your Mac or PC, you simply go and get the audio file that's not in the right format. Right here I have one that's in AIFF, and you just drag it, and what it does is it shows you what the new name will be, because they want you to use 8 characters. You say convert, you pick a folder. I'm going to send it to my MP16 files. You say go, and that fast it's done. So there, and I now have the .wav of the same thing, and that will work perfectly in any of the pads of the MPX16. So I have different sounds assigned to these pads, and some of the pads I have in a loop mode, where if I hit it, it keeps looping until I stop it. Other pads I have as a hold mode, where I have to hold it to keep the sound going. And then I have some that are one shot. You hit it once and it plays through its whole thing and then stops. So here's just some sounds. This is some music I made for other demos. And I can stop it any time simply by hitting it. That one's currently in a loop mode, so it'll just keep looping if I let it sit there and play. So consider if you had a modular synthesizer rig and you were making all these really great ambient sounds that you wanted to go on during your performance, but you either didn't have enough gear or enough time to set those up for each sound. You can record those at very high fidelity into each one of these pads and then bring them in. You can fade them in, fade them out. You can loop them, lots of different variations. So here's just a sound I made on a FM synthesizer. And you can do sound effects. You can do jingles. of course, you can do grooves and loops. I have like a Latin deconstruction kit here where they took a groove and broke it down, and I put the different pieces on it, and you can play along. And then I use some of the internal sounds to add bass and some sound effects. So anyway, it's just a small idea of the things you can do with this. If you have any further questions about the AKAI Professional MPX16, please call your Sweetwater sales engineer. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for listening.